Hello to everyone and welcome to this channel. Thank you very much to the ones who have already subscribed, and I really hope you will enjoy this new video. For the ones who haven't subscribed yet, if you will like this kind of content, I suggest you subscribe because there will be many more interesting stories, mostly twice a week. In the following minutes, we will show 3 photos which were taken at some very unusual circumstances. But before each one, we will talk a little bit about the context and actions leading to these moments. It was a sunny and beautiful morning of January 7th in 2012 in Carterton, which was a small town in Wellington region of New Zealand. It was a Saturday, and most of the people were having a day off, which they wanted to use to enjoy good weather and beautiful scenery of New Zealand. A small group of people gathered in one of the fields full of fresh green grass. They were very excited because they were about to go on board of a hot air balloon to enjoy spectacular scenic flight with amazing view. Among them were Alexis Steele and Christian Jordan, a young couple deeply in love and ready for their romantic experience together. Alexis was 19 years old and her boyfriend Christian was 3 years older. She had studied nursing and journalism and planned to nurse in third world countries while writing about her experiences there. She had already been on a mission to Africa and was saving for a visit to orphanages in Cambodia and Vietnam, and generally just lived by a Bible psalm, be the voice for those that don't have one. She was a dream daughter to her parents, Alan and Vivienne, and a good sister to her older siblings, Emma and Ben. She enjoyed spending time with her boyfriend, and this was for them just one in many more upcoming interesting excursions and shared experiences. Next to them, there was another couple, only a bit older, Stephen Hopkirk and Belinda Harter. Stephen Hopkirk was actually there celebrating his 50th birthday, and this hot air balloon ride was a surprise gift for his birthday from his partner Belinda, as this was something he has always wanted to experience. They both were enthusiasts for outdoor activities and just got back from a mountain biking trip. Stephen was an easygoing man with a kind heart. He completed a degree in botany at Victoria University, but worked for IBM in Petone for many years, as he was very skilled with computers. Those around him would describe him as the one his family and friends called on to help them, and he never said no. Previously to his relationship with Belinda, he was married to his wife Pam. Unfortunately, Pam was diagnosed with serious illness, and Stephen was caring for her through her long fight with the disease. Sadly, she didn't win that fight, and she passed away. So, after this tragedy, which marked him forever, family and friends were very glad to see Stephen living again and trying to enjoy life. With them in the field were Stephen's parents, Bob and Merle, who had their 56th wedding anniversary on the same day. However, they decided to pass the balloon ride, and they were waiting to greet them with birthday wishes when they land. A little further from them was a third couple, Desmond Dean, who was 70, and his wife Anne Dean, who was 65. They were accompanied by their daughter, Bronwyn, one of their 3 already grown-up daughters. Their granddaughter, Amy, was also there to watch them do the scenic ride. Desmond and Anne were well-respected and liked couple in their community. Another elderly couple, waiting for their romantic experience, were Howard and Deanna Cox, at that moment married for 17 years and with adult kids from previous marriages. They owned a successful group of rental properties in Wellington and were fondly regarded by their tenants. Howard and Deanna were described as soulmates, and their obvious love, respect, and adoration of each other was clear from the start. Howard was passionate about family, wine, and food, especially roast meals, while Diana Cox was an active member of the Wellington Rose Society and an excellent seamstress. They were also animal lovers and donated significant amounts of their time to charities. Besides these four couples, there were three more persons waiting to get in the hot air balloon. There were cousins Denise de la Barca, 58, and Valerie Bennett, 70. And of course, the pilot Lance Hopping. The conditions for the flight were almost ideal. The sky was clear and bright with minimal wind. Finally, they got into the balloon while the ones who accompanied them were watching from the ground to see their big adventure and welcome them when they get back on the land. Unfortunately, instead of being witness to that, they would soon witness a horrible and unimaginable death of their loved ones right in front of their eyes. While attempting to descend, the balloon collided with a high-voltage power line, causing it to catch fire and explode, killing all 11 passengers on board. There were 14 friends and family members waiting for the balloon to land, and also people who lived nearby witnessed the explosion, followed by hard crash with the land. 2 passengers, later identified as Alexis Steele and Christian Jordan, tried to save themselves by jumping off the balloon. Sadly, they immediately succumbed to their injuries sustained in the fall. Other 9 people lost their lives from the explosion inside of the balloon. The reason for the accident lies in the incompetence of pilot Lance Hopping, whose medical certificate was expired, who had cannabis in his blood, and who made a huge error in trying to outclimb the power line. In his last moments, he was seen trying to disentangle the balloon from the line. Here is a heartbreaking quote from daughter of Desmond and Andy. "I screamed out for mom and dad. There was nothing anyone could do," she said. I cannot even imagine a situation like this, where you have to watch your loved ones die, and there's just nothing you can do about it except watch. I really hope these families have found at least some peace throughout the years. The following photos were taken in the moments of the incident. This next story takes us to the Philippines, to the city of Caloocan, which is the 4th most populated city in the Philippines, with more than 1.5 million citizens, and it is a suburb of Manila, the capital. Reynaldo Daxa was a local Filipino politician. He served as a councilman and was a corporal in Philippine Army Reserve Command. He was also a member of Barangay Peacekeeping Action Team, which is a group that intensively tried to reduce crime in the region. It was the night of New Year's Eve, 31st of December 2010. Reynaldo was at home with his family, waiting to celebrate New Year at midnight. At one point, he got really tired. His eyes were already closing by themselves, and he went to lay down to have a short nap. He told his family to wake him up a little bit before midnight so that they could, as usual, go out to the street in front of their house, called Tuna Street, to join loud and fun celebration of New Year. And it was exactly like that. When midnight approached, the family woke up Reynaldo, and they all went out and were looking forward to see the fireworks, which will start in a few minutes. They were all relaxed and very happy, and it seemed that nothing could ruin this big night. Here it is! The clock is showing 00. Happy New Year! Everybody's hugging and congratulating. It is very noisy in the street and the firework has begun. The Daxa family had a wish to take a family photo as a memory to these cheerful moments and New Year 2011. His wife, daughter, and mother-in-law got in front of the camera, put on a smile, and were ready to pose. His wife and mother-in-law were standing in a hug, and his daughter was leaned on their family car, which was next to them. At the moment when Ronaldo was going to push the button to make a photo, suddenly he just fell on the ground. He just instantly crumbled to the street floor. His family, posing for the picture, was completely confused at first. They looked at each other with puzzlement and then, of course, ran to Ronaldo. They shook him, taken his head into their hands, and yelled, "Ronaldo, Ronaldo, what is wrong? What is happening to you?" Then they saw it. His shirt was filling with blood in the part of the chest, and the red circle was bigger and bigger. He was immediately rushed to the hospital, but was pronounced dead at the arrival. He had 2 bullet wounds. He was shot in the chest and in his right forearm. His family was in absolute shock and was trying to grasp what had just happened. How can a happy New Year's family moment turn into such a tragedy? The confusion was even bigger because they didn't even hear the gunshots. So when he fell down to the ground, at first moments, they didn't realize he was actually shot. This is, however, not strange, as it happened, probably intentionally, few moments after midnight, and fireworks in all city were very loud. After the family got home, still in the state of pure shock, someone realized that they had Ronaldo's mobile phone with them, and they looked into it. Without any special intention, they just opened it. At that moment, they found something which will not only give more explanation to this unfortunate event, but would be a direct and irrefutable evidence of who Ronaldo's killers were. It turns out that in a split second before collapsing to the floor, Ronaldo managed to push the camera button, and he actually captured the moment of his death, with his assassin aiming the gun towards him and his accomplice behind his family smiling and posing for the picture, having no clue what was actually happening in that moment. It is most probable that he was focused on photography, and that is why he didn't notice when assassins appeared in the frame. The photo largely facilitated the investigation, and Ronaldo's killers were promptly caught. The one who fired the gun was identified as Arnel Buenaflor, and he and his 2 accomplices, who were on a lookout, were known car thieves and hold-uppers out on a bail. They belonged to a pass-away gang, which operated in the area that Daxa counseled over. The group was linked to a string of robbery and murder cases in Caloocan. After the trial, they received prison sentences. However, I did not find a reliable information on the duration and other details. The motive behind the assassination was revenge, because Ronaldo was the one who ordered their arrest for car theft a year prior to this, for which they were out on a bail. This case was just one in a series of violent shootings that have plagued the impoverished Philippines, where cheap firearms are easily available on the legal and black markets. Here is the famous photo, which was featured as one of the most viral photographs of 2011 by Time magazine. Olesia Suspitsina was a beautiful, smart, and cheerful young woman from Kazakhstan. She set goals and made them happen. Like the ones who live in Turkey. She always loved the sea and dreamed of living in Turkey, which she achieved at being around 26 years old. In one of her Instagram posts, she even wrote, "I will always admire the beauty of the Turkish nature. This is my paradise." In Turkey, she was working as a tourist guide in Antalya, which allowed her to do what she loved the most, constantly enjoying the city, nature, monuments, and getting to know all sorts of interesting and fun people. She also enjoyed posting her adventures on social media. So, in 2020, during COVID pandemic, she was also stuck in Turkey, in Antalya where she lived. Like most of the people, after months of lockdown, she was very tired and bored of it. The second it was allowed to travel again, she made plans with her friends to hike in Duden Park, which was on her bucket list for a while. Duden Park is located in Antalya region in southern Turkey and is known for its beautiful waterfalls. It is a popular tourist and hiking destination, visited by around 700,000 tourists a year. It was Monday, 4th of May in 2020, and Olesya and her friends headed towards Duden Waterfalls. The feeling was so good and she felt happiest in a long time, because the lockdown was especially hard on an active person such as Olesya, who had a dynamic lifestyle and enjoyed being outdoors. When they came to the park, they hiked to one scenic resting point, drank some wine they brought, and just enjoyed the moment. They talked about different things and making jokes. At one point, they even had a video call with a friend who couldn't make it that day. The atmosphere was great, and they still had a lot of daylight ahead to enjoy amazing nature and numerous waterfalls. Maybe they even loosened up a little too much, but who cares? The lockdown was finally over and they were feeling normal again. Nothing can happen if they have some fun, right? After hiking some more, they got to a higher altitude which offered one of the most majestic views in the whole park. You could see the majority of the park from that point. After hiking some more, they got to a higher altitude which offered one of the most majestic views in the whole park. You could see the majority of the park from that point. Olesya didn't want to miss such a scenery to make an attractive selfie for her social media. She wanted to get a perfect photo, and her friend Larissa Kamalova was the one to take a photo. Olesya and Larissa tried to catch the best background for the picture, but always something wasn't right. Olesya knew she could get a better scenery. She saw one point from which the view was perfect for the photo, but it was on a cliff behind a warning sign and this whole area was fenced off. Olesya and Larissa looked at each other, because they knew they shouldn't go there. The desire to have a flawless photo predominated, and Olesya climbed over the safety fence. She got on the rocks and was striking a pose for her friend. At one moment, Larissa was focusing camera on Olesya, but the frame was empty. She lifted her head in confusion as she realized in horror that Olesya couldn't go anywhere in that split second except to fall from the cliff on the other side to the rocks and water. She completely panicked, ran to the rocks, but carefully, to see if Olesya was somewhere beneath, but she couldn't see her anywhere. She immediately called the authorities to ask for help, and they rushed to the scene. Unfortunately, all hope was lost when Olesya's body was later found unresponsive in the water. The emergency services were unable to revive her. Olesya most probably slipped on some grass which was next to the rocks, and she fell from around 115 feet, which is approximately 35 meters of altitude. She was 31 years old at the time of the accident. Her friend Larissa Kamalova has been charged with negligence. Following, you will see the photo of Olesya taken seconds before she fell down the cliff. This is a sad reminder that warning signs and safety fences should not be crossed, ever, anywhere. Thank you for listening, and hopefully I will see you soon in the next one.